The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Sims out of the shotgun, gets the snap, sets it as 28, throws upfield, intercepted at the 40 by Ohio State, up to 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5, and it's going to be an Ohio State touchdown by Steve Miller.
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And check out every episode of the show at basicallysports.tumblr.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg, Mike.
And you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
The absolute worst!
Come on, sub 500 division champion. Come on. Like, aside from an 0-16 team, I want to see a 7-9 champion.
I'm telling you, and I'm standing by this. If we get a 6-10 divisional champion, I will buy the hat and the T-shirt.
Same here.
Absolutely.
Same here. I'll wear it in public, too.
Right, exactly. They will become my favorite team for 1 year if they can pull it off.
If a 6-10 team wins a division, I'm rooting for them to go all the way.
Right,
like,
exactly.
They're going to be they're my playoff bandwagon team.
Better believe it, man.
Should we go over the NFL, I guess, since we're already kind of talking about the games?
Yeah, why not? I actually got something I want to talk about.
Sure.
We brought up the Texans-Seahawks game.
Mm-hmm.
And Deshaun Watson had a pretty good game yesterday, which got me to thinking that he's a guy the Browns passed on. So I thought, I wonder, how many of these great quarterbacks did the Browns actually pass on? And
Carson Wentz.
I found a list. Let me go down this list for you, okay? Last year, they could have had Mitch Trubisky or Deshaun Watson. They took Deshaun Kaiser instead, all right? In 2016, could have had Jared Goff or Carson Wentz. Guess who they went with? Cody Kessler. 2014, could have had Teddy Bridgewater, Derek Carr, or Jimmy Garoppolo. And they went with Johnny Manziel. 2012,
Bridgewater was taken 7 spots after Manziel, by the way. Just wanted to.
And if you guys remember, I was like, take Teddy Bridgewater. That's the guy you want. That's the guy you don't want. Johnny Manziel. No.
Teddy Bridgewater was taken 7 spots after him, and the Browns picked Manziel partially on the advice of a homeless man. That's true. I'm not making that up. I know it's hard to separate parody from reality of the Browns, but that's true.
And then, 2012, I'm going to give them a pass on this one. They could have had Robert Griffin III. They took Brandon Weeden. Well, that was a dumb pick, Brandon Weeden. But Griffin, with his size and everything in the offense he ran, you kind of knew that he wasn't going to last very long. But still, they could have had him. They ended up getting him after his knees were both shot, and he couldn't do anything.
Oh, yeah, they only got Robert Griffin after, after the Best Buy date.
2011 could have had Andy Dalton or Colin Kaepernick, and they took Colt McCoy with Seneca Wallace as his backup.
To be fair, Colt McCoy has a name that sounds like he'd be an awesome quarterback.
I agree. Yeah, Colt
McCoy. So
McCoy.
I think that was the extent of the Browns scouting that year. Like, how can we pass up on a guy named Colt McCoy? Come on.
What was his brother? Remember Zach? He had a brother that played at Texas too. It was like Pony McCoy or something. Or
yeah, it was something similar.
Yeah, like I don't know, Racehorse McCoy. I don't remember. 2009, they could have had Mark Sanchez. Whatever. I'm not. But these next two are the ones that kill me. All right. 2005 could have had Aaron Rodgers. Instead, they took Charlie Fry, the immortal Charlie Fry from Mike's aforementioned Akron Zips. And finally, in 2004, could have had Ben Roethlisberger. I don't even know who they took, but it doesn't matter. So there's like 3 Super Bowls on there, I think, and a bunch of I don't know.
Well, you mentioned Roethlisberger. That also means that the most wins in Cleveland are on that list.
Yeah. By Ben Roethlisberger, a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Most wins in Cleveland by a quarterback.
Yeah. I just don't know what else to say about this team anymore. It's just unbelievable. But anyway, to the NFL.
Didn't they say that they were – I didn't watch it, but you said that they were kind of close, that they kind of had like some sort of bad decisions as they normally do late in the game or something like that?
I don't know. I turned it on at around, I don't know, like with 3 minutes left in the third quarter, and they were actually winning when I first turned it on. It was 16-13, I think. I didn't watch it. I just kind of would check the score because what I was hoping for, if you guys remember last week, I predicted the Browns would win this game just because it was London and it was screwed up. So I wanted to see if they were actually doing it. It was 16-13. I'm like, they might actually pull this off. And then the next thing I knew, it was 30 to whatever. And I said, okay, that's that. I did not watch it because, A, it was in London, and B, it was the Browns. And I thought, I'm not going to endorse that in any way, shape, or form. But, the Browns, all those quarterbacks. I don't even know how many other great players they could have had. I just don't know how you can be that wrong that consistently for that amount of time. Wouldn't the law of big numbers say you'd get one right by accident at some point? I don't know. Anyway, where do you guys want to go first with the NFL here?
Let's start Thursday with an awful game there. The Ravens, again, two teams, I still don't know what the hell each of them are, but 40-0, the Ravens just destroy the Dolphins in that one. Matt Moore looking like Matt Moore.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of the Ravens because one week they're terrible.
And I think this is why so many of us were willing to give Jay Cutler a chance, because it's like, at the end of the day, Matt Moore's still Matt Moore.
Yeah. I think the Dolphins realize that too, and that's why they signed Jay Cutler. I don't know. The Ravens, they're not good, but they're 4-4. They're certainly in the hunt for a wild card if they, 8 games? They go like, say, what would that be? 5. They'd have to go, 5-3 down the stretch to come in at 9-7? I could see them doing that.
Yeah, Matt Moore, 25 for 44 for 176 yards and 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco, 10 for 15, 101 yards, 1 TD. Not exactly lighting it up either, although looks like Ryan Mallett got put in.
Yeah, because Flacco got killed at some point during this game.
Yeah, did he got hit pretty hard? I mean, like one of those where you could tell by looking at his face, he had no idea where he was.
Yeah,
he got lit up pretty bad.
No suspension for that hit.
Right.
Which is asinine. But, again, two teams, like you said, Greg, the Ravens are either blowing teams out or losing. I don't know what they are.
Yeah, I can't get behind the Dolphins. I mean, I don't have any faith. Even that, what's his name? Jay Ajayi is not even doing much this year, is he?
No.
13 carries for 23 yards. So
not much.
And his longest was a 21-yard run. So
that means he got stopped quickly and a lot there too.
Yes.
It's just a shame because I think the Dolphins are busting out those throwbacks against the Raiders this week, so it's going to be a beautiful game to look at. But
hey, I still think they have a chance against the fucking Raiders, because I'm off the Raiders entirely.
Yeah,
I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm done.
Yeah, let's move to Sunday, the early games. For the Raiders, the Bills look kind of legit now, maybe. But for the Raiders to lose that game, that's one that they can't be losing if they want to be considered a good team. And even with Derek Carr back, they're just not. They don't have what they had a year ago, and I don't know what to put my finger on there. But I can't believe in the Raiders either.
I was going to say that maybe it's a tougher schedule this year, but their schedule doesn't seem like it's been that difficult.
No.
Carr, 31 for 49, 313 yards, 1 TD, 2 interceptions. No, that's not going to get it done.
No, I'm looking at their schedule now. It hasn't been like a murderer's row that they've played. I don't know what their problem is, but they're...
And my boy, Tyrod Taylor, not flashy numbers, but he gets it done.
Hey, and the Bills were rocking those really nice AFL throwbacks yesterday, too. It was a good-looking game. Very good.
And the perfect team to break them out against, too.
Yeah, if I were still doing my best and worst list, I would have had this at my number 1 spot probably. But it just got to be too much work. And I stopped doing it. No one said a word. I thought, okay, I'm just going to just kind of quietly slide off into the sunset here. But yeah, the Raiders, I'm off there. I don't know, Zach. We've been down this road with the Bills so many times over the past 5 years. I'm still not ready yet.
But have we been to a 5-2?
Yeah, they're 5-2. Usually they're 4-1 and then collapse.
I'm not there yet. I'm going to say if they can get to, what are they right now? 5-2,
4-0 at home.
I don't know. That old siren song starting to call out to me, but I don't know if I'm ready to buy in yet.
I mean, look here. Let me pull up the.
You still go all in on the Blues every year for the NHL playoffs, but you're not going to give the Bills one more chance. Come on.
That's a good point, actually.
So, if the playoffs were to start today, as we always like to have fun with, the Bills, depending on the Titans are playing tonight, right?
Yeah.
No, tonight. Yeah, tonight's.
Well, Titans are going to bye.
Okay.
Who is it tonight, Mike?
Broncos Chiefs.
Oh, that could be good.
In a game of, I guess, middling AFC West mediocrity.
I was looking at this wrong. Anyway, so if the playoffs started today, the Bills would be the number 1 wild card.
Okay.
In the AFC. They're a half game behind the Patriots.
Yeah, I know. Mike brought up a good point. Is like, I'm always on the Blues all the way to the bitter end. Why not the Bills? Maybe I'm afraid I'm going to jinx them. But you know what? I'm in on the Bills. I love the uniforms. I like the team. I'm in. I'm back on the Bills. There's
only 4 teams in the AFC with 2 losses, and the Bills are one of them.
Yeah, I know. That's amazing to me. But you watch them, though, they're not bad. You watch them play, they're a pretty good football team. There's Super Bowl material.
Joked about Tyrod Taylor leading Mike's fantasy team to victory, but here Tyrod Taylor leading an actual football team to victory.
I don't know which one's more remarkable, but both are pretty remarkable. I just remember seeing Mike's record in our league and going, okay, who's he got? I'm like, Tyrod Taylor? He's like 4-1 with Tyrod Taylor. I'm like, all right, I give up. I hate fantasy sports. My Gold Diggers are off to another shitty, slow start. But my Toledo Jeeps, that's 21 out of 22 games that I've won, not counting playoffs. But anyway, I'm on the Bills. I'm back on the Bills, off the Raiders completely. Totally.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment to come out of this game. I like the Bills. Yeah.
You got to be. I mean, look, I'm not even going to say the Raiders can't lose this game because it's they're going east. Buffalo's a tough place to play. You can't go in and lose by 20. Come on, you got to at least show up. So I'm not ready. I'd give them an okay on a loss if it were like 34-31, but not this. This is just bad. They're just a bad team. I'm beginning to wonder how much of a mirage last year was actually. All right, go ahead.
So the Vikings are also pretty impressive, as we mentioned. I mean, we talked about the Browns, but 6-2.
That with Case Keenum.
Good.
Yeah. I think
really
I don't know. I mean, geez, look at Keenum's numbers. 27 to 43, 288, 2 touchdowns against the Browns. So you got to kind of, grade on a curve.
That's really
with that.
not that good, though. That's kind of middling, really.
For him, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Which one's the bigger surprise? Vikings at 6-2 or Bills at 5-2?
I gotta say 6-2 just because Case Keenum.
I'm with you. I think so too.
I'd say because of the quarterback. Yeah.
Also, just to because we are talking about the Browns game, to kind of go back to the whole Carson Wentz thing. Apparently, the Browns considered drafting him. Here is Browns executive Paul Podesta,
the baseball guy,
Podesta, who's best known for being Jonah Hill in the Moneyball movie.
Right,
exactly. I was
the
going to
baseball
say,
guy,
aka Jonah Hill. This is what he had to say about Carson Wentz and the Browns considering drafting him. Even though you have a desperate need for one, you have to resist that temptation of taking that guy because you have the need. If you don't believe he's one of those 20 guys at the end of the day. I think that's the hardest part, just maintaining your discipline because you have the need. That's what we did.
That's just
that's a fine baseball strategy,
yeah,
I think.
It is.
It's like, well, you don't need to go get the number 1 first baseman because you can get other ones. That doesn't work in the NFL.
No.
Above all sports, I think the most important thing to start a franchise with is an NFL starting quarterback.
Yeah,
because a quarterback can cover up a lot of holes that a team might have.
I think his thinking is like in baseball. Okay, like you get a first baseman on the market. I don't know who like a really good first baseman is right now, but we'll say like Albert Pujols in his prime when the Angels made that dumb contract. Yes, he at the time it seemed like a smart move, but in baseball, you can take 2 guys making a third of the money and put together those same numbers. You can't do that in the NFL. You can't make a quarterback out of 3 players like you can. Yeah. Like in baseball, you look at it and go, I need, 280 batting average. You need 30 home runs, 100 RBIs. I can do that. I can take 3 guys and make that player. You can't do that in the NFL. And I think that's the thinking that's killing the Browns. Carson Wentz is
moneyball certain positions in football.
Right.
I think you can probably moneyball a defense. You could probably do it with a wide receiving core, even your running backs. But you just can't do it on a quarterback.
No, it's like trying to do it with starting pitching. You can't do it with that either. You can do it with positional players. I agree. And the Carson Wentz is, what was he, 6'5", prototypical NFL quarterback. The big knock was that he played at North Dakota State or whatever it was. And that was the only knock against him. And look what he's doing now.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the running for NFC MVP, I think, if they have such a thing. I don't know, but whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, It's just unbelievable. I've never seen a franchise, and I've been watching the NFL a long time. I've never seen a franchise this bad for this long and this consistently. Like, they can't get anything right, no matter what it is. They've drafted Joe Thomas. He turned out okay. The rest has been like,
and poor Joe Thomas.
Right.
Out the season too.
And you know what? I give that guy a lot of credit because he could have left on his own a lot of times, and he just sticks it out and plays. It's like, okay, you know.
Sure.
All right. Anyway, what's next?
The Bengals edged out the Colts in two teams that don't matter.
Oh, hold on a minute. I'm going to put a little pin in the Bengals. I think they might be the team.
They're 3-4.
I know, but I'm just saying, if a team's going to sneak up on you, and at the end of the season you're going to go, holy hell, how these guys get in the race? It's going to be these guys, the Bengals.
Not buying it.
All right.
Patriots were pretty much in control of the Chargers. The Chargers kind of got back in it late, had a controversial touchdown called back.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I don't think that really makes a difference. Patriots probably still win that one way or the other.
That's what I said about the Patriots
fight for
last
LA
week.
Every week, every yard, every down. Fight for
Somehow the Chargers managed to lose the fight for LA in a bye week for the Rams. So.
It's like I said about the Patriots last week. You look at it, okay, what teams can just go out and win when they have to win? And that's the Patriots. Look at they're 6-2, best record in the AFC, and they're right where they always are. And they didn't play a great game yesterday, but they won, and that to me is what sets them apart.
Another surprising record, though, is the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah,
they beat the Bears. Not any sort of real feat, but 5-2 are the New Orleans Saints.
Yep.
On top of the division. Right?
Yeah, I think that looking at that division, they got to be the best team in it, right?
Panthers. I don't know if they're the best team in it, but they have the best record in it.
I don't know. The Panthers, it's like, didn't they win yesterday? The Panthers
beat the Buccaneers 17-3, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you want to put dirt on them, and then they come back and win. I don't know what to make of them, but I think the Saints are good enough to win that division. I don't think they're like going to win the Super Bowl or anything, but they're pretty good.
Speaking of the NFC South, let's just talk about the massive disappointment that the Buccaneers have been. Because God damn it, I've been watching them nearly every week, and this team's not good.
What is up with that offense? Guys. I mean, they've got players. They've got Jameis Winston. What's his name? The running back. Doug Martin's pretty good. Mike Evans is a really good wide receiver. They've got some players, and their offense looks like my cat's drawing it up every week.
They're producing yardage. They got something like over 300 yards of offense yesterday against the Panthers. They put up numbers, but they just couldn't get it done. They just they were able to produce yardage, but they just couldn't score. They had over 300 yards of offense, and they only scored 3 points the entire game.
That's what I mean. I don't know what their offense is supposed to be.
Well, Winston, 210 yards, 21 for 38, 0 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions. That's a big problem.
I don't know. How long do you stick with him at this point?
Look, I'm telling you, that game against Arizona, the Cardinals were kicking their teeth in when Winston was in the game. They put in Ryan Fitzpatrick, and and they still lost the game, but he led them on an almost comeback. So
Fitzmagic.
I mean, they're Fitzmagic, man. They're 2-5. What do you lose by seeing what Fitzmagic gets you?
I don't think you lose
because
anything.
Jameis Winston's still pretty young. You have a lot of money invested in him, and I don't think they want that problem on their hands. Ultimately.
Yeah, but have you seen their offense, Zach? It's terrible. I mean, it's just got awful.
Oh, I don't doubt it. I don't. But it's that's a decision for somebody that's well above our pay grades to make.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
And NFC South, Saints are 5-2, Panthers 5-3, Falcons stay in the pack at 4-3 with a win over the Jets. Jets are pesky. But game losing streak.
I watched a lot of that game. I'm going to tell you, the Jets were the better of those two teams. I really believe that. I think the Jets played a better game than the Falcons did, but the Falcons
Falcons have we got to start. I think Falcons are in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, because if you watch the two teams play yesterday, the Jets looked like they were upset more than the Falcons looked like they won a game they were supposed to win. I was not impressed at all by the Falcons yesterday. It was just like, man, this is just a team that just doesn't know what it's trying to do. And the more and more I see of them, the more I go, that Super Bowl thing really is a bigger issue than we thought it was going to be.
Eagles, as we said, can probably the class in the NFC, 33-10 over the Niners, 7-1. Carson Wentz, easy day, nothing big for him.
Yep. But that's what you got to do. If you're a good team, you go out and you win the games you're supposed to win. That's exactly what they did.
Game of the day is probably Texans Seahawks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Real entertaining one in Seattle. Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson dueling it out up there. After the game, the Seahawks defense gave a whole ton of praise to Deshaun Watson, saying how good he was. And the Seahawks won that 41-38. Are we afraid of the Seahawks again? Are they back?
Yes.
Ugh.
If you look at the NFL right now, we missed on a lot of predictions with teams like the Raiders and others, but the top of the league is pretty much the way we thought it would be, with the Seahawks, Steelers, Patriots all being right there. The Eagles were the big surprise, but the Seahawks, you want them to go away, and we've seen this for years now on the old football show. You want to bury them, but look at them. Here they are again, 5-2, playing pretty good football, and it's just, I don't know what you do. I wish they would just go away, but they won't. I wish the Texans would have won this game.
I was so excited for them to lose that game so that the Rams could be in first place, by all alone again. But yeah, I can't knock them down, I guess. I don't know.
If you want to take anything away from it as a positive, if you're a Seahawk hater like I am, you look at it and you go, the Houston Texans went in there and scored 38 points at Seattle's place, which doesn't happen.
That defense is not the same anymore.
Not at all. No. And so that's sign for that's a hopeful thing. But other than that, yeah, it's like here they are again. And it's just like, will you please, for the love of God, just go away. And Russell Wilson, 452 yards and 4 touchdown passes. Give me a break. Oh, I hate that team.
I'm not leaving them now. I'm staying on the Rams. Rams will win the division. I'm sticking by.
I'm still on the Rams too.
I'm on the Rams too, but I don't like seeing these Seahawks anywhere near first place.
Yeah.
Don't like it at all. I don't like this team. Never have. I used to like him until Russell Wilson came along. Now I don't like him anymore.
Cowboys Redskins.
Disappointing.
Yeah.
I think so. The Redskins just didn't show up. I mean, Cowboys played them, but I really wanted this to be a better game than it was, and it just didn't turn out to be much.
Yeah, real slop game too with the rain.
Yep.
And God, can the NFL come to its senses and get rid of the dumb helmet rule, please? Or the Redskins need to get rid of those throwbacks, because if you can't wear the faux leather helmet and you're gonna have to wear your current helmet, it looks that's almost worse than what the Rams have tried to do with their helmets.
You know what? I'm actually gonna be a dissenting voice here. I liked the look. I thought it was a clean look.
I don't dislike it as much as Zach does, but it looks so much cooler when they had the faux leather helmets. But it's not bad.
The uniform from the neck down is great. It's just the burgundy of the helmet not matching the burgundy of the jersey, and the logos being ever so slightly off. To me, it's the same thing as the Rams helmet, where it's like, yeah, that looks correct from a design standpoint, but like from a color standpoint, it's just off enough to be really bad.
I didn't think it was that bad. Not my favorite. I mean, and here's the thing too: they can do the old 70th anniversary throwback, because they've got the right color helmet with the arrow and the whole thing. If that's the one, go with that one. That was like one of the best uniforms ever. I don't understand, why this, but I mean, it worked when they had the fake leather helmet. That looked cool. This is not. It's not bad, but it could be better. So I'm kind of in between you guys on that.
And Steelers-Lions. Steelers win again, 20-15. Lions going with the all blue at home.
That was a bad look.
Where are we at? I've tried. I really have tried to like these Lions uniforms, and I can't do it.
They're not.
They're not terrible or anything. I put them like with the Dolphins. They're not bad enough to be really bad, but they're not good enough to be good either. They're just boring. So, I mean, I like the helmet, I suppose, but the rest of it I think is just okay, whatever. I don't know. They're kind of an in-betweener there.
Yeah. Then one of the reasons we had a bad schedule this week, too, was 6 teams on a bye.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Why do they have to have, I mean, I don't get it. Why do you have to put so many on at the same time?
Well, like the Rams and Cardinals both took their byes after London.
Right.
I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but that's what that is. The only other thing I want to talk about, because I just saw this note on the side here, and it still perplexes me. We're in week 9 now, and Andrew Luck is still not going to practice this week.
Something's wrong.
He had that shoulder surgery well into the offseason.
I know.
And he was speculated to maybe be ready for opening day. And he still isn't even, like, throwing the ball. There are
two things here. That one is either that there's something it's way worse than anybody's willing to let on right now, or two, well, we're not going anywhere anyway. Let's see what Jack Landon Brissett can do and get a good draft pick out of the deal.
All I know is that I dropped him. I dropped Luck for my fantasy team so I could ride the Tyrod Taylor train all the way to beating Greg.
I know. I lost to Tyrod Taylor and CJ fucking Anderson. Are you kidding me? I don't know, Zach. I think that either
it's a strange one, right?
I mean, what are the Colts? What's their record right now? How many wins do they have?
They're 2-5.
Yeah, so they're headed into the top 4 draft pick territory. So it might just be a matter of why risk it with Andrew Luck? We're not going anywhere anyway. Have him sit out the season, really get fully recovered, and we get great draft picks, and then you rebuild fast that way. It's either that or there's something's really wrong and they're not letting on what it is.
It's just I know that the first part sounds like a good idea for the Colts to just shut him down for the rest of the season. But if that's the case, then put him on long-term IR so people stop asking the question every week.
True.
Just like don't put up the charade that he's just not practicing. He might practice next week. If that's really the case, then they need to stop that. But I think it's the same too. If there's actually something really worse going on here, then what could have happened? It seemed like from all reports, it was kind of a routine rotator cuff thing, right?
Yeah,
I think it was rotator cuff. It just, I don't know, seemed like it's a fairly normal thing that just isn't being fixed, and the Rams or the Colts still don't look great in a lot of ways. So maybe Chuck Pagano's probably gone at the end of the season.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of it either. I mean, because it's none of it makes sense, because you're right. If he is hurt worse, why are you keeping him in a position where you could activate him any week? Can we just put him on IR and be done with it? Yeah. But then if you do that, it raises a bunch more questions. So I don't know what but they're the Colts too. I mean, shit, you can't leave that out of the conversation. Who knows what the hell they're doing?
Yeah, it's a lot of questions.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Not the least of which is it's the Indianapolis Colts, and there could be a variety of idiotic reasons. My mighty Ohio State Buckeyes taking down the number 2 team in the country. It was as beautiful as anything I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, just really a great game by your Buckeyes.
I'm still, you know what though? I mean, JT Barrett had a great fourth quarter and all that. I'm still not entirely comfortable with him, as terrible as that sounds.
Despite the fact that he's been there for
7 years?
Seasons.
Yeah. I don't know if they're going to renew his contract after this, but I mean, it was a great game, and it had a lot of Michigan feel to it. So I'm like, gee, it's James Franklin, another Jim Harbaugh. Can't figure out how to beat a team. But then I thought, no, that's harsh. But I loved it. Like I told Mike before we started the show tonight, I would rather lose to Michigan than Penn State. I cannot live with losing to Penn State. I can't take it.
Fuck those cultist assholes.
Right. I mean, when they make Ohio State fans look reasonable by comparison, we've got a real problem, is what I'm saying. But it was a great game. I loved it. It puts the Buckeyes right back in the thick of the playoff hunt. I'm surprised looking at the rankings, and they've moved us up to number 3, which I'm really kind of shocked by, with Wisconsin.
Who's 2? Clemson?
2 is Georgia.
2 is Georgia, right? Okay.
Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Notre Dame. Clemson at 6.
Yeah, no, the thing to take note of, the first playoff rankings come out tomorrow.
Right.
We're recording on Monday. The first playoff rankings come out Tuesday. So this is where it gets interesting. And, you know, I know we can't push it back to a day like we used to with the football show, and that's fine. But this is where it's going to be interesting to see where the committee now puts these teams. Because as we've over 10 weeks of the AP poll, you know, things always start out weird because you can't see all the games. So things are going to flip flop. But through 10 weeks of football, I think you have generally a good idea of who's who and what's what when it comes to at least the top teams, the teams that you'd be playing around with in the playoff, right? So it depends on how they slot these teams. And then it, of course, depends on what happens going forward. Because right now, if we were to just take the AP poll as it stands for the playoff poll, you'd have SEC 1, SEC 2, Big Ten 3, Big Ten 4. There's no way that holds.
No.
Because both of those teams would play each other in a conference title game.
Well, here's something to look at, too, okay? You've got Ohio State up there at 3, who lost to Oklahoma down at 8. All right?
Right, but that was earlier in the season, and Oklahoma has shown themselves to be okay. Ohio State has rebounded greatly and beaten, you know, a team that they thought of highly in Penn State.
But I read something somewhere, I can't remember how they phrased it, but I thought it made good sense, even though it was bad news for the Buckeyes. But the Buckeyes, the big win over Penn State is not as big. Like, they've got, how'd they put it? It was really interesting the way they said it. It was like Ohio State's big win is not as big as like Oklahoma's win over Ohio State or something. I can't remember how they said it, but it was just like, you know, I could see them moving Oklahoma in front of Ohio State based on that alone, because Ohio State, Oklahoma lost. Who they lose to? I forget.
Oklahoma lost to Iowa State, who now has beaten TCU and is up at number 14.
Right. Yeah, Iowa State. Yeah, so that loss looks better and better for Oklahoma as the season progresses. And then Georgia beat Notre Dame, right, by like 1 point.
Georgia beat Notre Dame, and Notre Dame's up at 5 now after beating number 14 NC State.
So here's what I'm saying. I think that when the rankings come out tomorrow, you're going to see Ohio State drop out of that top 4. I think you're going to see Notre Dame slide in there because of the close loss to Georgia. You've got Ohio State still got that loss to Oklahoma hanging over them. And Oklahoma's loss to Iowa State doesn't look nearly as bad as it did 2 weeks ago. So if I had to pick it right now, I'm going Alabama, Georgia, Notre Dame, and probably Wisconsin because they're undefeated.
Question. This is jumping ahead of ourselves a bit, but it's getting to the point where we have to start thinking about it. Assuming Alabama and Georgia both go undefeated and Alabama beats Georgia in the SEC championship game, does Georgia still get in?
Wow. Well, you know, we have to deal with this every year. And I'm going to say what I always say. It depends on what happens behind them.
Yeah.
It's certainly
100%.
Certainly plausible because, like, if Ohio State loses again, they're out pretty much. You can forget it, okay? Same with Notre Dame. If Notre Dame loses again, they're out. That leaves now you've got Wisconsin, Georgia, Alabama up there. And you got Clemson still with 1 loss. Penn State's still down there with 1 loss. So
if basically there's, as things kind of stand right now, there's no way a 2-loss team's getting in.
No, not a chance.
You can say that for sure, I think.
Yeah.
I think the thing too is like it depends on what happens behind them, but I think it also depends on how Georgia were to hypothetically lose to Alabama.
Right. Yeah.
If it's like that Ohio State Penn State game, and it's a 1-point game. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you got to keep them up there, but then I would apply that to Notre Dame as well, because Notre Dame lost at home to Georgia, yes, but it was by a point.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it was a blowout of any circumstance. The thing too to remember, even though Notre Dame's hanging around, no matter what happens, the committee will value the conference champions over Notre Dame every single time. And so that's why I think if Notre Dame wins out and they're 11-1, I could still see them missing. Because they're not a conference champion.
I think if
they'll never be able to add that to their resume.
If they run the table, all right, and all things being equal, I think you'll see Notre Dame not, like, let's say everything stays the same, and at the end of the season, Ohio State and Notre Dame are both there with 1 loss. Notre Dame will jump Ohio State. Wisconsin still got, they don't think they have to play anybody left, do they? Michigan.
They have
Michigan, and that's about it.
Michigan.
So they kind of control their own destiny, and they'll get into the Big Ten title game. If Wisconsin runs the table, they're in. Simple as that. Big Ten champions, undefeated.
If Wisconsin was the Big Ten, they're in. Yeah.
So for Georgia, they would need. It's kind of tough to say because you got to see what the rankings are going to be tomorrow. Once we see that, then we can really start plotting scenarios where Georgia could get in, even if they lose. Because
you also have to question how the committee values Clemson at 7-1,
right?
How they value Miami at 7-0. And then how they value the Big 12 teams, the Oklahomas and the TCUs,
right?
Who both still in the top 10, but both have losses to Iowa State now.
Yeah. I mean, if Iowa State's got 2 losses, I was going to say if Iowa State's at 1 loss, with those 2 wins,
yeah.
But you've got Miami still sitting down there at 9 that's undefeated in the ACC. If they run the table and win the ACC, you got to put them in the conversation. Yeah. It's and to answer your question, Mike, it's possible, but again, it's not that probable today. In 3 weeks, it could be a lot more probable, but right now it looks like no. But you never know.
Wouldn't that be something for Notre Dame, for example, if they went 11-1 and they have 1 loss by 1 or 2 points, and that's the difference between them being undefeated and a playoff team and a 1-loss team in the Fiesta Bowl?
I think the committee will find, if they can find a way to get Notre Dame in, they will, because it's.
I don't think so.
Oh, all right, you might be right, but I think they get in. But,
I think the committee's okay with sending Notre Dame to one of the bowl games and making the money off of that, but I don't think the committee's beholden to put Notre Dame into the playoffs.
Yeah, you're probably right. The team, the really interesting team here is Wisconsin. They have the best chance of running the table, and going undefeated. Now, here's another question, okay? Let's say Wisconsin runs it all the way out, finishes 12-0, and loses to Ohio State in a close game in the Big Ten Championship. Now you've got Georgia and Wisconsin sitting there, and then what do you do?
I think if that's the situation, Wisconsin's not
going to get in over Georgia. I agree with you there. But
if that's the case, Wisconsin's not one of the top 4.
But I think that this conversation, once we know what the first rankings are next week and we can kind of get an idea of what they're valuing this year, then we'll really be able to sit down and go, okay, here's what Georgia has to do to have a shot at getting into this thing. Right now, it's too hard to say because you don't know who's going to end up where. I think Ohio State falls out and they come in at 5 tomorrow because I just don't see them. But then they did beat the number 2 team in the country. And I tell you what, Ohio State, Penn State's pretty damn good. I mean, better than I thought they were.
Penn State with the probable Heisman Trophy winner at this point. I think with what Saquon Barkley did, even in that game and a loss,
he ran the kickoff back, but he also only had 44 yards rushing. I mean, the Buckeye defense really shut him down. Yeah. So,
again, another kind of bad Heisman Trophy field.
Yeah, it really is.
At this point in the season, there's really, I guess Saquon Barkley's it because Sam Darnold's fallen off in terms of his Heisman Trophy viability.
Well, now you got people talking about J.T. Barrett getting into the race, which I don't see. But, okay.
J.T. Barrett, Baker Mayfield.
Yeah. But it's Ohio State made it more interesting by knocking off Penn State, and thank you, Buckeyes, for doing that. Now somebody else has got to come along and finish them off for good. But I'm just
God damn it, Jim Harbaugh, you couldn't even do that, right?
Yeah. But hey, you know what? We beat Penn State, and that's important to me because I don't like seeing Penn State have any success. I'm sorry.
And not to pile on your South Florida football miseries, Mike, but the Bulls of South Florida
the immortal USF Bulls.
Yeah, sorry about that one.
What happened?
Whatever. You lose to Houston, I guess that's what you get.
Ouch.
So yeah, again, I still don't know how this works if Notre Dame's that Group of 5 team or not, if that counts. But UCF is the highest ranked other team.
Notre Dame is the first choice if they qualify, first choice for the Group of 9, Group of 5, or whatever it's called. It's always
right. I know that there's like a stipulation for them, but I don't know if they're included in the quote unquote other conferences thing.
I think the way they word it is that, obviously, if Notre Dame hits all the marks, they're the first choice because they're Notre Dame. Then after that, it goes like UCF, whoever.
Well, so, in my opinion, Notre Dame should just join a fucking conference.
Why do we let this to continue with Notre Dame?
Well, we can't force them to do it.
Sure, you can. You know how you force them? You don't let them in.
Well, that's true. I don't understand. My God,
you have to be a conference member to participate in our top bowl games.
And not to mention the fact, I mean, right now they've got this thing with the ACC. Okay, fine. But you tell me that putting them in the Big Ten wouldn't make some. I mean, you'd have Ohio State, Notre Dame, Michigan, Notre Dame, which was a classic every year that went away a few years ago, would be back on the table. Nebraska, Nebraska, Notre Dame, Penn State, Notre Dame. Come on.
The problem there, though, and as I'm kind of trying to like look at the map in my head, I would almost guarantee if Notre Dame joins the Big Ten, they're not going to be on the Ohio State side of the divide.
No, but they still play each other every few years.
Every few years, yeah, but they'd be on Wisconsin's side of the conference playing.
Why? What about the ACC? Aren't they in the ACC for basketball?
They're in the ACC for everything else, and then they have a agreement with to play certain football games. Like Notre Dame played NC State, they're playing Wake Forest next week. I know they have a game against Miami coming up later as well. They played Clemson last year, and that was another one where Notre Dame lost close.
Yeah, that was a good game. I just think that, geographically, it makes the most sense to join the Big Ten. And from a marquee matchup standpoint, I can't, unless you put them in the SEC, which would be ridiculous. But, a Notre Dame, and you've got Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Wisconsin. I'll even throw like an Iowa in there, Nebraska, Purdue, which is an in-state rival for Notre Dame. I mean, come on. It just makes perfect sense. And like they need to do it. You win the Big Ten, Notre Dame, you don't have to worry about all this other bullshit. You're in. Simple.
I really think that.
And I think it helps their recruiting, too. Go ahead.
I don't really see a reason why these things shouldn't be squeezing out Notre Dame like that. Why can't they just put the screws to them, really, and be like, hey, you have to be in a conference to play in the Rose Bowl.
I think the people that make those decisions and are in charge of these things still think that that's the Notre Dame team from the 70s, that they still wield that much power, and they don't. They've got their own TV network, but other than that, let's face it, they're not. I mean, are you kidding me? You're going to put Notre Dame up there on a power level at the same spot as like Alabama? Come on. Notre Dame is almost a second-tier team now. I mean, it's more surprising to see them get ranked this high, where it used to be it was a given. Now it's like, oh, they're having a really great year. Look at this. It's just they're not what they used to be. Although they still think they are, they aren't. And the sooner they figure that out, the sooner they join a conference, the sooner it's going to be better for their team, for everything. And I don't know why they won't do it. The Big Ten is just sitting there waiting for them. And, we'll kick out Maryland and Rutgers to get Notre Dame. Fine, no problem.
Why do you need to kick them out, actually? Why would you? Is there like a rule against conference size?
I don't know. I'm just saying, if that's what they want, we'll do it.
The rule
Michigan
should be
State, Notre Dame, that was a matchup for like years ago. But, yeah, there's just so many good reasons for them to be in the Big Ten. And that's not just me being a homer talking. It's just like it would work out perfectly for them.
Mike, the rule is that why the hell is Maryland in the Big Ten? That's what the rule is.
No, I'm just saying we'll kick them. Like if Notre Dame doesn't like it, we'll happily get rid of them. I don't. There's no reason behind it. It's just like, if that's what you want.
Because how many teams are in there now? Is it 14?
Yeah, 14. 14 teams in the Big Ten. These guys are doing majestic 12 type math here at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 14 teams in the Big Ten. There's 10 teams in the Big 12.
27 members of the majestic 12. It all works out in the end.
Coming to a deposition near you.
Teams that fall out of the rankings are South Florida and West Virginia. Jumping into the rankings is Mississippi State's back, and somebody let the damn dirty Wildcats into our top 25.
It's okay. They'll be out before you know it.
Yeah, they're 6-2. They just knocked off Wazoo this weekend, who hangs on to the rankings at 25.
And my Toledo Rockets can't get any respect. 19 votes this week, which is up from last week, which is only 3, but still, come on.
Yeah.
But then I look at them like, okay, yeah, we can't beat any of these teams. Maybe UCF, but I doubt it, so fine. All right, I'm okay with it.
But all these votes are stupid. Okay, again, we went through like 3 weeks where Alabama was undisputed the number 1 team. What has Georgia done besides beat up on bad SEC teams to deserve getting 2 first-place votes now?
I don't know.
You know what? The votes don't matter as of tomorrow, so who really cares?
So let's do real quick predictions. Who we like for the playoff first rankings tomorrow?
Oh, I'd go Alabama, Georgia 1-2 still. I put Wisconsin at 3. Man. I think they'll have Miami higher simply because they're undefeated.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Because I'm trying to think of, because these are all based on like votes and how people like, once you have them slotted in, then you can just kind of move them around. But they take the full bodies of work into play here. Who's Penn State really beaten?
Well, let's find out.
Has Penn State beaten anybody of?
They beat Michigan, but is that even really an accomplishment?
You're going to count Michigan? I mean, other than that, it's like Georgia State, Pitt, Akron, Iowa, Indiana, Northwestern. I mean, they've played what I would call a premier team on their schedule, and they lost. And it wasn't 38-27. I don't know where ESPN got that score from, but I don't know.
And then I'm looking at Ohio State.
Not great either.
Yeah, I mean they have the loss to Oklahoma. So if we're going to go on full body of work, Alabama 1, Georgia 2, Wisconsin 3. I'll put
Oklahoma's resume is not that hot either. What's Miami done?
Either Notre Dame or Clemson maybe at 4. Ohio State behind them, and then Penn State behind that, and on down the road.
I'm going to say Alabama, Georgia, Wisconsin, and Notre Dame.
That's mine too. It's exactly what I would have picked. And if Notre Dame doesn't get it, then I'm going to throw Clemson in there instead. But it'll either be Clemson or Notre Dame.
Here's the thing that the committee can probably do too. They'll probably have Notre Dame in the top 4 every week until conference championship week. Mm-hmm. And then they'll say, oh, well, these teams won conference titles, so that we didn't have that information beforehand, but now we do, so now they're ahead of them. Which is what they do all the time. Yeah. Whereas, like, when I look at it, it's like, well, I know that one of these teams is going to win a conference title. And they say, well, that's not on their resume yet, so we cannot judge what hasn't happened. Which I get, but it's like, use some logic here, guys.
On the other hand, though, I do kind of like that on their part because it is kind of trolling Notre Dame into like maybe joining a conference. Like, oh, look at that, you're in the top 4, and now you're not. Guess what happened?
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, did we not let you know? Sorry.
I'm assuming you guys have watched at least a little bit of the World Series, right?
Oh, right. Baseball.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. It's been pretty good, I thought. I think
it's been entertaining. Yeah.
Games 2 and 3 have been, or 2 and 5 are some of the best baseball games I think I've ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm. Game 5, it was like, geez, is anybody going to finally stop? And I mean, it was like, the Dodgers took the lead, the Astros to come back, and it was just like you were just waiting. I didn't know who was going to win. I mean, I had no idea. Like when the Astros finally went up, I thought, well, the Dodgers are going to tie it, and this could go on all night. But I think that what we've gotten here is we've really gotten a chance to see what a good World Series between the two best teams could actually be, and that's what we finally got here. Because usually, like you'll either get like a series where, I
thought last year was pretty good in that regard.
It was, yeah, it was. And this one. Well, I'm surprised at the lack of pitching. Like, I mean, Kershaw, when he's on, was great, but he kind of went back to being old Clayton Kershaw last night, which made it exciting. But it's been very entertaining. I just saw an article too, which I'm almost hard to believe it's true, but the ratings for Game 5 last night were 36% higher than they were for Sunday Night Football. You want to talk about something that I didn't think was possible?
I don't doubt that actually, though.
Wow.
Because like we had already kind of mentioned, the game, like, could you have... I forgot it was Lions-Steelers, and it's really not that important of a game. And then the first 4 games of the series have been so good that it drew people in to watch it, probably. Mm-hmm. So, good for them.
I think baseball, the last 2 World Series, has really done well for itself, that it hasn't been... Like you had the one where the Giants were winning, and it was like Madison Bumgarner just being dominant, and no one could do anything with it. I still don't know who I would pick to win this thing at this point. I think it could go either way. Which is
do you think by the time that we actually release this thing, I'm sure we'll know whether it's gone to 7, or we may even know who won. But do you think this thing goes 7?
I think it goes 7.
I think it goes 7. Although the Astros have Verlander going tomorrow, and if he comes out and he's lights out, that's it. Party's over. But this Dodgers team is really good, too. I mean, we've seen what the Astros can do here. Man, can they hit. And it's really cool to see because you remember there's like 3 or 4 years ago, we were talking about how bad that team was and how hard it must be to be an Astros fan. But we agreed that they were building, and in a few years, I didn't think they'd be this good this quick. But if Verlander pitches well tomorrow night, it's over in 6, but I think it'll go 7. I think the Dodgers find a way to get it done. And then, it's Game 6 will be the game of the series. I know that because they always are. Game 7s are weird because everybody pitches and you don't get like a normal baseball game with a Game 7. It would be like in hockey, like a Game 7 of the Stanley Cup where it was nothing but the Sidney Crosby line all night. And you didn't see any, you know what I mean? That's kind of what it turns into. And I've always felt that the best World Series games are always the Game 6s. Game 5s too, but, I think it goes 7. I just don't know if I think the Dodgers win at this point.
I think, well, obviously they need to win 6. Obviously they need to win Game 6. But, if they can push it to 7, just because of the nature of baseball, it's pretty much a coin flip.
Right.
So they just need to get past Verlander. That's all they need. Like, if they can just find a way to do it, all they need to do is squeak by.
Yeah.
And if they can do that, then
who would pitch for them in a Game 7? It wouldn't be Kershaw again, although he could pitch in relief, which is what I mean with Game 7s. They get weird. But it's been a great World Series. I mean, 2 years in a row now we've had a really good World Series, so that's good to see. And
that's kind of one of the reasons why I want a Game 7, because this has been some great baseball, and I think for better or worse, if a series doesn't go 7 games, it kind of gets shortchanged when it comes to being remembered. And so I want to see this go the full 7, just so you can say, yeah, this was a really good World Series that went the distance.
And I'll say this too, having seen these two teams now, I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. Baseball fan that I am, I generally don't watch the first couple of games of the World Series because I know.
Gasp!
But I've actually watched
pomp and circumstance.
I've watched every game of this series so far because it's just been that good. I haven't turned it off. Usually it's I make a point to watch the first pitch of the World Series, which I missed this year, and then I'll watch a little bit of Game 1, and then I'm off to doing other things, and I usually tune back in for a clinch game or whatever. But this one, I've been there beginning to end with this one, and it's been great. Really had fun watching it.
The nice thing for the next 2 games, unlike when the series first started at Dodger Stadium, it will not be 103 degrees. It'll be a comfortable 68.
Oh, that's much better.
At first pitch. So,
well, when they were talking about
that's perfect baseball weather.
It really is. When they were talking about that, though, I thought, I was listening to the Jim Rome show the other day, and he was talking about, it was before Game 1, how hot it was going to be and stuff, and I was so tempted to tweet him and go, "Dear Jim, 98 degrees at first pitch. Wow, what a tragedy. Signed every Texas Rangers game between June and August. Because it's like that hot there every day." But yeah, it was it's nice to be it'll be great that the weather's a little bit better. That will slow the bats down a little bit too, because man, that ball's going to jump all over the place in 103 degree heat. So.
Yeah, it's cooler and it's a bit overcast today, so it might the air might be a little bit wetter too, which will definitely keep the balls out of the air.
But it's this is the first time in a long time where my team wasn't in it that I'm this interested in a World Series. It's really cool because you got the Astros; they're really good. The Dodgers are really good. They're the 2 best teams, and I'm honestly, after watching these 2, there's no way the Indians could have beat either one of these teams. There's just no way. They're just not as good as these guys. Simple as that. So I don't feel as bad about losing to the Yankees now. But I just I wanted to go 7. I'd still like to see the Dodgers win it, but I think the Astros take this thing. That they got something they've got that it thing where they just do what they've got to do, and they're just impressive as hell. Because was it Game 2 they were down and came back and won?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and to me that just shows that they've got whatever you want to call it, character or whatever, but
gumption.
Yeah, there you go.
Truculence.
Truculence. But I'd like to see it go 7. I'd like to see the Dodgers win. But at this point, I really couldn't make a prediction because they're just both playing great. And it's just hard to say what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah, the other thing that a lot of people brought up, and I think you saw that come into play a little bit in Game 5 where you had all these crazy scores. It'll be nice to have the game played in a regular-shaped baseball park.
Yeah.
Because, like, take, for instance, the Correa home run in Game 5. Mm-hmm. I thought that was a pop-out.
It probably would have been in just about every other park in baseball.
Right. And it got into the
Crawford
that
seats?
little box they have over there.
Yeah, they're called the Crawford seats for some reason, and I don't know why they call them that.
I'm sure somebody hit something over there once.
Why are they called that? I wonder what that is. Crawford boxes.
Yeah, and then there was another hit that went halfway up that, like, right in that same area where, like, the home run line goes up, and then they make, like, a fake wall for whatever reason, where it would have been a home run somewhere else, but not there. I don't know. But it seems fitting to finish these things in Dodger Stadium of all places. So
yeah, I mean, Houston's ballpark's cute, but we were talking about it last week. This is one of the parks that got a little too kitschy. Mm-hmm. They went a little too far with the whole thing, and I think those Crawford boxes, it's kind of like a miniature Green Monster and all that, and I get it, but the reason the Green Monster's the way it is because they couldn't build it any further out. It was right up to the sidewalk on the street outside. They didn't need to do this here. So it was kind of unnecessary, but I can't find out why they're called that. It just says that, it's 315 feet down the line. I mean, let's be honest. I think any one of us could hit a ball 315 feet over that fence. I'm serious.
Yeah. Oh.
I can't find out why they're called that. Well, if anybody knows why they're called the Crawford boxes, send us a tweet at Basically Sports and tell us what the story is with all that.
Either that or argue with us about the Arizona Cardinals.
Or argue, about the Arizona Cardinals. And only the Arizona Cardinals, no one else. Maybe we'll lift that restriction now that the Cardinals are pretty much out of it. But anyway, we got anything else, guys? You want to call it a night?
I think we're good.
Okay. I'm going to try one more time. Why are they called the Crawford boxes? Okay, if this gives me an answer, we'll stick around here. Oh, okay. They're called Crawford boxes because the left field wall in front of the seating is parallel to Crawford Street in downtown Houston. Okay. That's not terribly exciting, is it?
Cool.
We're going to call it a night. We will see you next time. In the meantime, follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports. Subscribe to the show via iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and YouTube. And you can also find us on Facebook. We will see you next time.
Later.
Later.